Today I want to teach you an exercise, and it's going to kind of go from being pretty easy to a lot more complicated. So when I first started playing guitar, I learned these exercises first, and honestly I still use them, but I used them religiously when I first started playing guitar. But really the point of these exercises are twofold. You're going to want to build finger strength and sort of the synchronicity between both hands, and you're also learning how to count properly, meaning that you're playing all of your notes in an even rhythm. So we're going to go through and we're going to play groupings of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 notes respectively. So we're going to skip over 5 and 7 and come back to them though. The first one is going to be these two fingers. Then we're going to alternate to these two fingers, these two, and then basically every combination of two fingers that you can come up with your hands. It's kind of hard to actually show it, but there's a lot of different things that you can do. So we're going to start off. You're going to want to have a metronome. For the purpose of this video, I don't have one with me just because I'm not going to be able to hear it over my guitar. So this is the basic idea. You're going to take your first two fingers that you're going to work on, which probably are going to be these two. Start at the first fret, and you're going to basically just play the first two notes and then go up the string. You're going to want to play these notes evenly, meaning that you want every single note duration the exact same. So let's pick a comfortable tempo for someone who might be starting out. We're going to go really slow, and when you're doing this as well, you're going to want to be thinking about how you're picking it. So do a run through where you downstrum all of it, do a run through where you upstrum all of it, and then do a combination of the two with the alternate strumming. That's going to help you really develop superb picking technique, and I promise you it is definitely worth it. Even if you only run through these 5-10 minutes and call it, you're going to be good. You're going to be feeling good about it. So here's kind of what this is going to look like, okay? This is the first combination with two fingers. Once you get to the top, you're going to need to shift over. So that's going to be like, and then you're going to go down backwards. So all together it would sound like this. And then you can continuously shift up the neck until you feel like you've done that finger enough. So the second combination would be these two. So that's going to be the same thing. Pick a comfortable that's tempo. Pick a pick a tempo that's comfortable for you. Okay. Now this one always felt weird to me, but I feel like this has also been one of the most beneficial ones. So just try your best with this. I just feel weird because I feel like my other two fingers are way off in space, but the whole point is to just get the strength in those two fingers. That's why I'm doing it like that. So also you're going to want to do, you're also going to want to do the whole step one here. So you're going to skip a note and you're going to play your first and your third finger. We're going to do the exact same thing with the last remaining, well, I guess there's 2 sets left. There's one more. Well, I guess technically we can do 2 more. So we're gonna do 1 and 4. Here is kind of a bonus one. This one is called the extension. So the same thing, it's the exact same 2 fingers. You're going to need to extend your reach, and you're playing a lot bigger of a distance. This is totally unnecessary if your hands are too small to do it. That's absolutely fine. This is just for people that have really big hands and really want to try this out. So it's the same thing, you're just playing a big gap. it does feel a little strange, but where you're going to use that more often is probably in the second octave. And that's the point, is eventually you're going to be able to play all this stuff really fast. I just did this at a straight tempo so you can just hear every single bit that I'm trying to play. And also, you really need to be consistent, because if you're not being consistent, this exercise is completely pointless. Do not do that to yourself. Don't waste your time. If you're going to do this, really make sure that you are hammering down the rhythm and it's perfect. It doesn't sound crappy when you're playing the notes either. So we're going to actually go to groupings of 3 now. There's a couple of those, and we're going to actually count them as triplets. At least that's how I like to do it. So it's going to be the exact same concept, but we're going to do groupings of 3 fingers. So it's going to be something like this. You could also count it in 3, I guess, like 3, 4, but it's all about interpretation at the end of the day, and whatever helps you to actually execute it is all that really matters. Because I mean, you could also just count like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But you have to think in different time signatures. There's a different framework for the accents and the downbeat and the upbeats and whatnot. So you have to be kind of thinking about that before you commit to it. So let's do the other more obvious version of the 3, right? Okay. Then we've got 1, 2, 4, and that's referring to the fingers, not the frets or anything like that. Okay, and then this one's kind of more of the minor shape. It's 1, 3, and 4. Okay. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that you kind of want to think about style as well. Like, once you've gotten the rhythm down really tight, you should think about different ways that you can articulate the exact same exercise, right? So what that I mean is, like, instead of picking everything, like we were talking about doing downs, ups, and alternates, what if you did legato and you just, you pick the first note and then it's just... So it has a slightly different sound to it. It's just a good way to practice your fundamental techniques, to be honest. So we're going to go on to groupings of 4. I'm not going to go over all of these because I feel like there's a lot of different variations, and I think it's kind of fun to come up with your own as well. But obviously, you got the 4 fingers, and you're going to put them into different sequences. So basically, we're going to start with just doing them all in a row, right? Okay, now this time we're going to approach it by starting on a different finger. So instead of starting with the 1, we'll start with the 4 and play 4, 1, 2, 3. So you can already kind of see at the craziness that this could sort of become. Like, let's say we started on the 3. So we'll do 3, 3, 4, 1, 2. Whoops. Okay. And there's all sorts of variations too with like string skipping, but we'll talk about that a little bit later because I think it's a little bit more difficult for sure. Let's move on to 6 notes. So in order to perform this, you're going to have to perform a shift. And there's two ways that I would suggest doing it. I guess you could do it three ways actually. So we're going to do 2 and 4, 4 and 2, and 3 and 3. And I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. So here's 4 and 2. So you're gonna play 4 notes and then shift and play 2 notes. So it's gonna look like this: 1 and 2 and 1 and. And you're gonna shift up the string. This one is a little bit more difficult to really stray from the like where you start because of how many notes are involved, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. Going down's a little more tricky for sure, but so here's that again. And really, you want this to be as seamless as possible, where nobody can tell that you're even changing strings. You want it to sound like one continuous flow. And if you get any sort of like feedback or distortion or anything that's kind of like becomes jarring between the two strings, then you know you need to kind of clean it up a little bit and maybe take it slower. Just think about how when you're shifting, are you causing unnecessary noise? Are you hitting the string? Are you doing something with your hand? Are you not muting it enough? There's all sorts of possibilities. Just troubleshoot it. Don't get frustrated, and just believe that you can do it. It's going to take time. Nothing is going to be attained by instantaneously doing an exercise, but if you're able to commit and do this long term, I feel like it's going to really benefit you. So going back to the patterns, we've done 4 and 2. So now let's do 2 and 4 and 3 and 3. So this is 2 and 4, right? So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, which changes the pattern of the accents. Rather than doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, we're doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't know if you could hear that, but when I went down to these two strings, it was a little bit sloppy. What I would do if you do end up getting a little sloppy with any part of the run, just completely start the run over and just dial the tempo back in your metronome. Don't beat yourself up because you can't do it fast. That's not the point yet. You want to build endurance and speed as well as your accuracy. It doesn't matter how fast you can play if it's not accurate. Like, a real musician's going to be able to tell what you're doing and be like, wow, they're not even playing in tempo, there's no key, you're just, like, who cares? Like, playing with tremolo is not a hard technique, and I was actually watching a video the other day about violins and how, in pop settings, people get so impressed when they just start playing the vibrato or the tremolo. It's like, it's just a common technique, guys, it's okay. Or like when singers sing really high notes, it's like, it's not, like, yeah, it's impressive, but like, there's a lot of more impressive things out there. I think that it's deceiving. So let's talk about 3 and 3. This is the more even one, and you probably would think of this more as a triplet because it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're gonna go into some more difficult and advanced ones. So if you have not mastered one, or if you haven't mastered 2 through 4, I don't recommend you try 6 or 5. Jesus. I don't recommend you try the more advanced ones if you don't have the more basic ones down. So here are the more advanced ones. Now we're going to get into some more complicated counting. So this is groupings of 5, right? But how do we count that? Well, 5 we're gonna have to divide into 2 and 3 or 3 and 2 to equal the 5. So we're gonna start by doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Notice how I'm really trying to accent on the 2 and the 3. That's important. Definitely do that. Whoops. What's tricky is that on the way down, it's going to be the opposite. So you're going to do, whatever you do forward, backward is not the same. If that's too confusing, just do it up, stop, take a pause, and then do it backwards and count it, the other way. Because it is going to sound different because you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 on the way down. I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit confusing, but they invert on themselves because you're going backwards at the top. It's the same thing with it, starting with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That was sloppy as hell. But the point is, no matter which one you do, it's going to be backwards when you get to the top. Now let's try 7. 7 is by far the most weird one to do because you have 3 different ways to make this up. You have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So this is by far the most difficult one to do. So, if you don't have the other ones down, I don't know if I would try this. So, we're gonna do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 to start, and then we're gonna move on. Now this is where it gets weird because when you go back down, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So, no matter what permutation you start with first, you're always going to do the opposite one on the way back. The only place that it gets really confusing with is the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This is because the 3 is in the middle, and no matter what you do, it's going to be symmetrical this time, right? So we're going to do, let's just listen to it. It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. I don't even have this exercise down that well. I actually just made up this version of the permutation the other day. It just goes to show how long I've had this. Oh my goodness, what am I trying to say? I don't know. It's hard. It's tough. So the last one is going to be 8, and that's just going to be 4 and 4. So this is definitely tough as far as shifting goes. Just go slow and gradually increase the speed and you'll be fine. So you're going to play 4 notes and shift up and play 4 notes. Pretty simple. But this is more of a shifting exercise at this point. And to me, honestly, that was a little sloppy, but really the point is just that you're playing 4 notes, shift up, play 4 notes, shift back, and you're constantly working on making sure that your anchor point is right. Because that's the whole idea, is like 1 to 5. And if you're having trouble getting this down, practice the shift. Because ultimately, that tends to be the most difficult part about this exercise. I would highly suggest when you do these exercises, if you have the opportunity to record yourself, to do so, or if you have the opportunity to play in front of a mirror, I would suggest that as well. It's good for posture. It's good so you don't have to like do what I did. I was like looking at my guitar. But also part of these exercises is to sort of alleviate the need to look at your instrument, but just for the purposes of making sure that I don't mess up when I'm trying to play for this video, it's better for me just to look. But use a metronome, record yourself if you can, and really focus on the details. If it's not right, don't accept it. Just start it again, lower the tempo, and just really focus on getting each pattern down. I feel like this really helped me tremendously when I was playing guitar, especially when I first started. And even now, I've come up with the more advanced ones, like the 7/8, the 5/8, which, you know, that's the 5 and 7 notes respectively. So, yeah, hope these help, and see you next time.